surroundings, and what are they seeing? Are they seeing uncles and father figures like just chasing after the girls, or are they around positive, males that are saying like, yeah, like that's an important part of relationship, but you want to be about your business, you want to be about grinding, you want to be about establishing your own and being able to take care of yourself and somebody else instead of just chasing, the ultimate end result. So again, for me, as I say, even
Right.
in my high school days, the people that I hung around, they were on that pretty much that same thing. I had a few cousins and things that we went to school. We were in college together. I had a couple of real good girlfriends that even had their hair done short, and they was like, I'm not trying to, now were we saints? No, like we there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can do outside to say that teenagers we try to justify and make make it okay. So I'm not necessarily advocating for that. I wouldn't want that as a dad now, first, even from my kids. But that's just being real. But the ultimate thing was like, we don't want to mess up our future. So again, the people that I hung around, everybody was like, college was the idea, was the dream to move forward and get out the situation that we were in. So I definitely say my parents was and my family structure was a good solid force. But then after that, because at some point in time, as when you're a teenager, your peers become a bigger influence than the people that should be. Sometimes your parents, the people that was there with you thick and
Right.
thin, they're important. Like your peers, I'm going through that right now with having a teenager, where like the stuff that mom and dad say isn't as important to what her peer group is saying. So luckily for me, I surrounded myself with good peers who
Right.
were pretty much on the same thing. Like, and yeah, it was people in our group who were booed up and had relationships, and I'm sure and know that they was having, sex and stuff like that. But it wasn't like even with the dudes, it wasn't like, granted, how you can have that group of peers, or as a guy, you can walk into the locker room and it's that chatter and everybody talking about this girl and that girl and this girl. It was the dudes that I hung around. If they had a girl, that was their girl. You know what I'm saying? That was maybe their main squeeze that they was with, and they went telling the whole world about all their business. So that I'm saying that kind of mentality where people are like, yeah, I
Right.
may be doing my thing, but it's private. I'm not here to just talk about how many notches I got under my belt. But that's my girl who I'm with, and I'm doing my thing and keeping it moving. You know what I'm saying? So those are the people that I hung around that help keep me, grounded as well.
All right. So going back, which is, you sound like you had such a positive upbringing, and just the environment you were planted in really produced someone who had a whole different perspective on the world. What about those who did not have what you had? Speak. I mean, I'm sure you saw it. What did you learn and what you pull away from those who didn't have what you have? And how would you even encourage women out there who are living and not understanding this environment where men don't want to commit?
Mm. Man, that is a tough one. Yeah, I mean, I had still I would say for the half of my family who I had a good positive kind of foundation, I would say it'd be another flip side of a whole host of them who didn't. Everybody was out there doing their thing, whether it was cousins, whether it was uncles, you name it. So, yeah, that's a hard one because especially when you start off young and it really is hard to have that mind switch of okay, this isn't the most important thing. And I think from the guys that I seen do that, and so that was the route I wanted to go. Where I'm seeing now is that the ones who have changed, it was that maturity, it was that switch. Oftentimes, unfortunately, some of those folks were the ones who had kids, and they were like, "Man, having a child changes you." Yes, it does, because the same things that you did, you don't want to repeat and have, especially if you have daughters. That's one of the biggest things I hear in terms of some of like male friends that have some of those regrets. They're like, man, I don't want my daughter to date me and I think that's in our society why kind of men are so overprotective of their daughters is because they know how they were when they were growing up, and they want the best for their daughters. So, man, that's I think that you're answering. You have I don't not being saying that I have the answer for that one at all. I can just say from experience and
But
the folks
speak
that I
on it.
talk to. Oh man,
Speak on it. Don't be shy, man. Come with it.
um, um,
I
okay. So
mean,
you asked the loaded question there. So let's take a step back. Let's break it down. Okay, ask the first part of that because you asked about, I guess, what I saw, the negative, maybe the not so positive that you kind of asked a little bit about that. Then you kind of asked like what would I advice I would give to somebody that hasn't had maybe the foundation that I have. Okay, so let's try to break it down a little bit. So
all
ask
right,
that
perfect.
question one more time.
Yep. So you had a great environment growing up. You had positive male role models. You had your father, your cousins, family. All of them had a different perspective on sex. So
Mm-hmm.
education, family. You saw the positive results of focusing on your future versus trying to chase skirts. So you got that early. What would you say to the men, young cats, brothers who did not get that? How would you speak to them to kind of navigate away from that mindset? Just from what you
Man.
know and experienced.
Uh, I would probably honestly suggest like I mean I'm gonna be for real. And this is such taboo in the black community, but I mean I think some of our men honestly like need some counseling. They like you need counseling. You need to be reprogrammed. And and I'm gonna be for real because everyone again I think again, as you mature, hopefully life molds you a little bit where you start thinking differently about everything, a lot of different subject areas in your life. Sex may be one of those ones. So I think the maturity of life experiences can help mold that and shape that. But some folks, in terms of their reprogramming, man, it's just like they just gonna keep chasing after it. And a lot of guys I know that may still be single, still not looking to be married, may still be chasing after it, looking for an empty whatever it is to fulfill them. And for some of us who may be in the church and God has maybe turned our lives around, we can turn to that to say, okay, I was searching for something, kept searching, looking for in terms of a woman, and it wasn't there. God may have been the thing that filled me and helped me be complete to know that I got to be complete by myself before I'm trying to just keep chasing after a woman and thinking that this 15, 20, 30 minutes of pleasure is going to be my fulfillment. So some of us may turn to that, but there's other guys or other males who they may have not want anything to do with that. As soon as you bring up God or something like that, they're like tuning you off. To each his own. So to them, I say, where the counseling stuff can come into to play is that, and I know it's tough as men. We don't want to hear that word counseling, but it amazes me how much easier it is to have someone you can bounce those ideas off and help you kind of see yourself better than you can see yourself. Somebody from the outside looking in, whether that's in form of like professional counseling, somebody at a church, or just another man who's went through life experiences. Like as men, I think one of the things that we shy away from is getting any kind of help whatsoever. And even part of my YouTube
Mm-hmm.
channel that kind of ties into that of dispelling what we look at as masculinity. We look at as those gender stereotypes that men are supposed to bottle up their emotions. Men are supposed to, not feel pain or show emotions. That all is some of that negativity kind of messes us up, when we're trying to get better, when we're trying to mature. So it may come down to being real to say, the man who really wants it, if you really do, you're going to have to search out somebody that has more experience than you to tell you about yourself and to help you along the journey. Like again, even what we're doing now with my channel, as I alluded to, it's all about trying to pass down information to others so they can be successful. And me, for one, as a man, like I'm tired of trying to operate in a silo and in a box when I know that
Right,
that we need help and you can't do it all by yourself. So I'll be the first to admit,
right.
I threw that out there in terms of speaking about counseling. And again, I'm not saying that I have not done it. I've done it. I've done counseling. There's been times in my life where it's like I cannot handle this by myself. I don't want to necessarily put those burdens on family or put burdens on other people. So let me go and seek the professional to kind of help me, you know? And as I say, I think that's such a taboo for the Black community, such a taboo for men that we don't want to talk to somebody. And I have men, I'm a big promoter. I guess, I'm for counseling when it's needed, you know? And I'll have men say, you know, still to this day, I don't want to tell nobody else about my problems, or like, oh, that's a sign of weakness. It's like, no, it amazes me how much you can learn from somebody just reflecting things back to you just to make you think. Because oftentimes as men, we're trying to be those fixers in situations and fix situations in other people's lives and fix things in our own life. When in a counseling session, it's just an opportunity for you to sit across from someone, talk, but then they reflect back on you to have you think and make you say like, okay, I can't necessarily fix the situation just yet. Like I need to learn and put some tools in my tool belt to help me be successful. So man, I guess that would be my honest
Right.
God's the honest truth of what I can say. Like if you can't or don't want to seek, you know, counseling in that regard, as I said, you still have, if not the professional counselor, that older, maybe a minister at church, that older cousin, older uncle that who has been through some things, or even that family friend who's been through some things that you can tell things to in confidence. And that's, I think, a biggest thing that men were fearful about at times, we're prideful about at times, is allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. But then on the other side of that coin, being able to trust somebody with what we have to say that they won't go run and tell the whole world. So
Right.
that's a little bit of that level of vulnerability that we have to be able to trust someone. And that's why I say I like the professional counseling, because they can get sued. You can get you a lawsuit, you come off with some money if they were to tell anything that you say. That's why, I'm a proponent for that, because they ain't gonna be just like your cousin or your uncle to go blab to somebody else. The professional counselor, they're licensed. Again, they have a code that they have to live by. So if you are, you know, bearing everything on your chest, they're not gonna tell nobody. It's just like a priest. It's gonna go to their grave. You know what I'm saying? So I think
Right.
that's honest to God truth, man. How I would answer that.
Okay. We had somebody ask a question, and I'm gonna respond probably to this because you may not have the perspective to maybe respond to it. But someone asked, "How do men and women navigate after a divorce?" And that's Kimberly St. Clair. And you know, navigating after a divorce, which is really lost, especially in terms of sex, that's huge. You know, um, especially if you have been in a marriage where, you know, there was lots of sex, you know, which not every marriage unfortunately has that, but some are definitely have a great life in terms of intimacy. So
Yeah.
navigating life after that, for me, it really boils down to really along to what you have been saying, and that is having something in your life bigger than sex, which is a big challenge, you know, for many,
Oh yeah.
depending on how you were socialized. You know what I mean? So it's clearly you have to have a vision. You have to have something meaningful. You have to have something powerful. You have to have something that you are really going after, that you can pour your energy into and be able to do something basically with those desires. And if you don't have that, it's going to be a challenge and difficult to navigate in this arena after a divorce. So that's how I will respond. That's kind of my perspective on navigating, you know, in that arena after a divorce. I don't know if you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I would add to that is I think that is why, in terms of us, you know, and even trying to teach a game to our younger men that are coming up, and even the game I'm trying to teach to my son. Again, my faith has a huge impact on that. So everybody's not there, and it's okay. But let me just share my 2 cents. For me, that's why, again, when God is trying to tell us in the Bible not to, you know, I guess, entertain the idea of sex earlier than we should, which again, that's before we married. Again, we throw around the word sometimes in scripture, and it's just a whole bunch of do's and don'ts. But you have to realize the master plan behind it. It's because we deal with so much of the mess and junk that we deal with now. As our young kids and our sons, they start having sex when they're in junior high and they're in high school. They're first of all, their minds can't handle it. So only thing that they are getting out of it is the fulfillment of it. And so if you're starting
Mm-hmm.
that early on in an age, you're not going to be even mature enough to realize that there's something more to a relationship than that, because you'll spend that first 10 years
That's
just
good.
searching after that. And so then when you do become a man and that's all has been your focal point, again, it's going to take some reprogramming to really switch gears to be like, okay, life is more about that. Like life is about, intimacy on other levels. It's about commitment. It's about getting along with somebody. It's about trusting somebody. So that is the whole grand scheme of things of like why God is trying to tell us to not do some of these things and how we have to really break it
Right.
down and explain it to our young men and women. It's like God is not just trying to have you to not have fun, but He knows that at the maturity level that you have right now, you're not ready. So you don't want to get yourself in that snowball effect where you're spiraling down the hill and it's growing bigger and bigger. When
Mm-hmm.
you start dabbling in stuff your mind is not ready for. Again, you know your body is ready for it because you got these urges, you got these emotions, all that, but your mind isn't ready to match the two. So that would be the first thing I would say, just to
Wow.
try to
That's
peep
good.
game and teach game to our young men and women of delay that as much as possible. To even if you're like, okay, I'm not waiting, but wait till at least you're in college and that you have a little bit more growth. But these young kids out here, it's just I'm like y'all living reckless. Just but again, that's sometimes some of the background that they deal with. So that would be one piece. And then the other thing that I would say, again, I have not been divorced, but I'm part of a blended family. So my wife was previously married. I would say
Right.
in that as well, it does still take that time to be able to separate and really us as individuals, and this ties back into the word of God too. But even if you are an unbeliever, people still believe in this concept of knowing yourself before you know somebody else. And that is in the word when it talks about that when we do get married, like the whole point is to leave your parents and to link up with somebody, but that person is not supposed to fulfill you. That person, and we use those phrases all the time. I'm searching for my better half. I'm searching for my soulmate. But that's not what it's supposed to be about. It's not that that person is completing me. You're supposed to come, and many times we don't. I didn't come when I was married young. You're supposed to come complete yourselves so that you guys are
Mm-hmm.
two complete individuals coming together. So again, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we get married young or whatever. We don't know that. But what life ends up doing to us in the best case scenarios is that it's helping us learn about ourselves individually. So you don't have to have another person complete you. And when you do that and you're on that self-discovery of finding self, then it's a little bit easier to connect back with someone because you're like, okay, I'm not going to be 100%. I'm not going to have it all together, but I'm comfortable in my own skin. So now I can link up with you and we can make it happen. You know what I'm saying? But if we're just out there searching for
So
somebody else
you're
to
kind of saying,
go
so
ahead.
it's
Yep.
kind of like with all that, when you're able to identify with yourself, with who you are, then you can get to a point where it's not all about sex. It's more about you having your own identity, knowing who you are, knowing your purpose, and being excited and fulfilled through that. Then that's part of that shift in going from now I want relationship because I know I am.
True. Yeah. And I think just with society, we're so programmed to just think we got to be booed up and in relationships. Even again, I've tried to ingrain this into my daughter who's 14. And as I said, her peers are now becoming a little bit more than what, our parents' wisdom is. And we've been through it. Like I purposely would prefer she did not date at all. But she ended up finding this little boy, and then emotions is everywhere, and then we had to kind of nip it in the bud. So again, we're navigating that still. So pray for brother, navigating that. But in society, we're so taught that we have to have somebody. Like even these kids at a young age, my daughter is about to be a freshman next year in high school, and I tried to tell her, it's like, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself to be with somebody? Like I want you to know about boys. I want you to know about the opposite sex. But why can't you do that in a group setting? Why does it have to be so exclusive? And it's going back to what she's seeing, what the peers are saying, what people are doing in high school, what they're doing in middle school. So that's where it's a
Right.
tough thing, because we'll always have those societal pressures pushing on us, telling us one thing when, even though we may know there's a different alternative route. But I definitely agree wholeheartedly, as we kind of bring that question and discussion full circle, is that, yeah, if people individually spend more time working on themselves in any aspect, I think it would help as they are trying to move forward with that relationship. If they're, trying to find a significant other, or if they just want to maybe not get to the point of getting married, but even just date a little bit more healthier, you would be searching not just for everything in that other person, but you'll be like, okay, let me look in the mirror and say, what things do I need to work on to make me happy, so that when I do get with somebody, they not seeing, all of my flaws. Like I said, we're not going to be perfect, but everybody probably can look into this mirror in the mirror, and I even still do to this day, and see some things that they like, okay, I can work on, whether it's your health, your fitness, your attitude, not being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that we all can look to and say, I need to do better at that. And I think if we do that and pay a little bit more attention to that, that helps us to focus our energies internally versus focus on our energies externally. Because that's really all what it is. Again, women and men are programmed differently. So if we're searching after sex, we're looking for a fulfillment. We want a pleasurable fulfillment, and that's pretty much it. And we were wired differently than women, not to necessarily be all emotional. So that's why we can jump and have a whole bunch of notches under our belt and not think anything of it. Although a woman, of course, how she was built, how God made her, again, emotions and things tie into it. So the way she's programmed is a lot differently. So she'll have all the feelings, emotions involved, and wants you to be in her life, wants you to be there. Most do, and I'm just saying, just in general, how speaking. But men, just how we're programmed,
Right.
is just like, up, on to the next one, up, on to the next one, up, on to the next one. But you think about it, if we took that exact same energy and was like, okay, I got $1,000 worth of debt. Let me stop chasing after these females every weekend and let me get an extra job
Wow.
and let me get this debt down.
Right.
Or, I'm
Right.
overweight, or I want that new
That's good.
car. Let me, focus on getting the job and getting my grind on and not be chasing after all these females.
Yeah.
Again, focusing on our internal self, we won't even have time to be chasing after all the females. It's like I'm working on
That's
myself
good.
so I can be better next time I come into a young lady's life, and just won't treat her as that
Good.
notch under my belt.
Wow. That's good. Man, you've been dropping it. You've been dropping it. Everybody, for those who are just jumping on, we got Corey Hammond, YouTuber, extraordinary, real men get done. So if you want to follow him out on YouTube, he has a channel where he is breaking it down, breaking it down. He is a father, a husband, entrepreneur. This man even does his daughter's hair. Love it, love it, love it. If anybody's jumping on, if you got any questions that you want to drop in the chat, please let us know while we got Corey on board to share his perspective. He definitely has a perspective that I've seen, especially in Black men of his age, that is very rare. So he brings it in such a way that definitely makes you open your eyes and say, man, you know, I need to fix some things. So if you got any questions, drop them in the chat room, chat box. Hear what Corey got to say. Real men get it done. So we've been on the air now, I guess about 48 minutes or so. So I appreciate you being on here, man. Definitely want to have you back and talk about how you got started with YouTubing and how you're able to kind of grow your channel, because I know we have folks in here that are wanting to be YouTubers. So we could definitely hear from you on that aspect as well.
Definitely, definitely. It'll be my
Um,
pleasure.
let's see. Cool. Um, any last thoughts on this? I know you said a lot, you shared a lot. Just, what would you say, um, just in general, last words to maybe some fathers who are trying to raise their sons and get them to be a little bit more focused?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, for dads, and I think I experienced this, or um, And I try to do it with my son because raising kids is tough. I'm not going to be sugarcoated, especially the ages that I have 14, 12, and 10. They're all 2 years apart. They're all at each other's necks at certain times. But as a parent, what I always try to do is to be firm but fair, and especially even dealing with my son. Like as my mom dealt with me, I always push him to be respectful, to his sisters, to my wife. No matter if they make him upset, I'm like, you're allowed to be angry. It's okay. But we don't hit women. We don't, even if you're your sisters, we got to show a level of control and restraint in that regard, no matter how mad or angry that they make you. Because I'm trying to push him to know that, as he gets older, to develop them same habits. So I just tell men to be out there, man, just be encouraged. Like that's why the whole purpose of my channels, whole purpose of even you doing what you're doing is that men, especially African American males, need to see that other men out there trying to be positive, encouraging, not saying that we have all the answers or have everything figured out, but just saying that we need each other. Saying that it's important for us to be supported and honored. And I think it's okay for us to do that. A lot of times you may hear the jokes like, because moms, they get it all the time. It's when moms do things, it's like they're expected to do it. It's how God built them, this and that. And then as dads or as fathers, we want that praise because it's like, hey, I did, I cleaned the house up this once. Give me my kudos. It's just like, the women may not get it, and it's cool.
Right.
It's how they were designed. But other men, we see it, we understand it, we applaud it because we know there are so many men not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I applaud every dad that I see on Instagram doing things with their kids. I applaud every dad I see on YouTube, on Facebook, doing things with their kids because it needs to be celebrated, it needs to be honored. And so just as a dad talking to other dads that are raising kids, whether it's girls or daughters, just know for one, I salute you because I know it's a difficult job. Even if they're not full-time in your house, I know that it's a difficult job. So I salute you, and just say, man, just find that support system wherever you can. If you're not in the church, that's cool. Find that counselor that you can connect with. There's free counseling that's out there. If you can't find an older uncle or somebody that's out there, like we have to be supported and we need each other. That's the most important thing. If you don't hear anything I say, other men, like we need each other. So we gotta connect and build these network of men that can help us on this journey.
True, absolutely. Hey, sit down, man. Don't jump off. We want to have a quick chat before you leave, but we're going to go ahead and sign off. We thank everyone who jumped in and listened to the conversation. Hope you were able to pull something out of it. And we will see you next time on The Male Perspective. So, Corey,
yes,
tell
sir.
your audience, tell them what's up. You love you.
Yes, so salute y'all. Peace,
And
blessings.
we'll be chatting with you soon. Like I said, stick around. Ready. Checking it in this.
This is another Infosol production.